why don't you take it?
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. This is a glorious Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. This is our presentation about organizing virtual candidate forums debates. My name is Fadia Hindi. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Warren and West Morris counties. We're a fairly new group, got recognized by the League of Women Voters US a little over a year ago, but we are busy and raring to go. We also have on the line Debbie McCumber, who was the head of our voter service subgroup, and also Evelyn Murphy, and both of these ladies are incredibly expert in running these sorts of virtual forum and debates, and we'll be able to pitch in and help out with any questions that come up along the way. And in that vein, if you do have any questions as I'm going through all this information, please feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat. Debbie's going to be monitoring the chat as I'm talking, and will interrupt me if she feels she needs to, or will just gather the questions for the end. But go ahead and put in any questions that you have as I'm talking. So as I say, this is the Voter Service Action Group number 3 for virtual forums and debates. And as Debbie said the other day in the synopsis, our goal is to encourage and support you all to turn to holding virtual forums and debates. We have a lot of information collected for you from people who have run these events. We've collected a large database, and we also have a group of experts that have been able to put together do's and don'ts, and also can be able to help you out with anything that comes up along the way. So with that, we will just get started with a quote by Shakespeare, which is a fantastic way to start. A rose by any other name, everybody knows it still smells is sweet. So a lot of questions keep coming up. Is it a forum, is it a debate? What do I call it? And at the end of the day, it doesn't technically matter. You know, forum, the word connotes that it's a discussion. You have a panel and they're discussing an issue or several issues. The debate definitely suggests more of a back and forth, a little bit argumentative, perhaps a rebuttal. So you can use whichever term you feel comfortable with. And the important thing is to just be consistent. Use the same term in all of your media and all of your press and any communication that you have going out there. Just keep it consistent, and it's not an issue which word you decide to use. I'm going to repeat this, unfortunately, several times. Your best friend is going to be the Voter Service Manual. It is, I know, about 10 or so years old, but the good news is that they are working on an update, and that update should be available this August. The Voter Service Manual has an incredible amount of information in it. There's so much in there. Before you even reach out to anyone with any questions, I strongly suggest that you read through the Voter Service Manual. It's going to be updated with all virtual components of running a debate. It's got guidelines in it, checklists. It's got, it will have an updated candidate agreement. It has scripts. It's got PR blurbs that you can use. So definitely start there, go through it, get familiar with it, and then if you still have questions after that, you can compile those and then reach out to us to help you with that information. So again, good news for those of you who have run debates in the past. The policies and the rules are pretty much the same, virtual versus in person. Of course, the venue is different, but most of what you think of when you think of a League of Women Voters debate still applies. The League is the one that invites the candidates. The League is entirely nonpartisan, doesn't support or advocate for anyone. The league is the one that gets the moderator, the timekeeper. The league will collect questions from the community, from any civic organizations, partners, perhaps if you're working with them. It's the same process as if you were doing your usual in-person debate, just happening all online. And another thing that I'm going to mention a few times here is the importance of your moderator. Definitely get her or him involved as early in the process as you can. The moderator is going to help you go through the questions to help you determine your Q&A format. And it's just a wonderful resource, and you definitely want to have the moderator copied on everything that goes out, just as you probably would have in person, but it is definitely critical in the virtual setting. Now, before you hit the ground, you're going to need to decide on your big picture questions right off the bat, ASAP. You've got to figure out, what kind of a format do we want to have? Do we want to have it live and have the audience watching it as we're doing it? Or do we want to just do it with candidates and record it and then post it afterwards for people to review? What kind of a virtual location are we going to use? We recommend that you use Zoom. It's definitely an easy format to use. Lots of people have gotten a lot of experience with it these last 14 or so months. So that's definitely our recommendations, although there are other virtual locations that you can use. Then you need to figure out which technology are you going to use. Again, we definitely recommend that you use YouTube. You'll find it's most accessible. It's easy for the general public. They've become quite familiar with it in several contexts of, again, the last 14 months and before. And it's something that, it's the one that we recommend for you going forward. It's just most versatile and most easily accessible. You've got to decide if you want to have co-sponsor, or if you want to partner with another organization, perhaps a TV station or a civic organization. That can come in handy if you want down the road with helping with the tech or helping with PR, getting the word out. It's something that you should consider, talk over with the members of the team who are planning your virtual debate. And then if you decide from the get-go to do that, then you can get your boots on the ground to try and find that right organization. You also want to determine, how do you want to have the public involved? There are different ways that they can be, how you want to run the Q&A. What is the attendance going to look at? Again, it's virtual, but is it live? Is it recorded? What sort of access do you want them to be able to have when they're viewing it? It's just questions you need to work through as you're thinking about organizing your virtual debate. So it sounds like a lot, which it can be. And the best way to get it all organized is to have a master spreadsheet, which Debbie and this other leagues who have run these virtual groups, Montclair and Morristown and Red Bank, we've culled together all their information, have a fantastic template for you to look at. And on this spreadsheet, you can have the name of your league person who's responsible for which activity and whether or not candidates have been contacted. And you can have all your candidate contact information. You can put in drop dead dates and scheduling dates for in the future, and your links once you get them, and just to have all of your information in one place so you don't have to keep juggling it in your mind. And you won't have to worry if you've missed something. Nothing will fall through the cracks once it's laid out nicely on a spreadsheet such as one that we've created. And so I, at that point, also would like to mention to you, I know that it's come up a few times already in some of these wonderful pre-convention seminars that we're having, but the State League down in Trenton is compiling a wonderful comprehensive database that's going to have not only the updated voter service manual, but also, for example, a sample of this template that I'm talking about, and several other critical documents that our subgroup and all the other subgroups have been compiling. All of this will be on this state I believe it's a Google Drive, but I may be wrong. But this state website, that state run database that all of the local leagues in the state can access for any information that you are searching. For example, if you're running a virtual debate. So samples of our task lists. We have a PR checklist, lots of really helpful documents that we've been putting together as we've been meeting in our subgroup will be available for you on this database that the state is working on right now. So that's going to be a really helpful thing for you. Just as I was saying, you've got to look at your big picture questions. There are pros and cons to the different kinds of, or I should say advantages and disadvantages, the different kinds of virtual debate that you're going to hold. Like, for example, if we have a live stream event, you can have immediate feedback. You can allow for questions during the event. You've just got to manage it. Have someone who's reviewing the questions as they come in. You can still have that live event obviously recorded and then available for viewing afterwards, viewing and reviewing and reviewing. But it can be awkward if you have a technical glitch. If you're live and the audience is sitting there, it can be a little stressful to fix an issue if it comes up. Another option is if you pre-tape it. I think that this is how the Morristown area League has run their virtual debates. You just have the candidates and the league, the moderator, the timekeepers, and the tech person, in the room during the event, and you have your debate, you record it, and the advantage of that is that there's less of a time pressure. It's less stressful because there are no viewers out there. You can clean up or fix any technical glitches before you put the recording on for people to view it afterwards. But there's no opportunity for immediate feedback, and there's always the concern that the public may consider that to be less transparent because it's recorded and it's submitted afterwards, and the public can't watch it as it's happening. It's just something for you to consider how you want to run it. I know the greater Red Bank area does it differently, than, as I said, the Morristown area. So again, a wealth of experience out there that you can tap into and see what their experiences were and how they viewed these advantages and disadvantages and how they handled them to help you decide which way you want to run your virtual debate going forward. Okay, so here are obviously very familiar platforms, YouTube and Facebook. One of the other main things that you need to decide is how are we going to use these? And it doesn't have to be either or. You can use them in different ways. You can use them all in conjunction with getting the word out there for your debate, which is, of course, the goal. Having the candidates all together, answering questions from the public is fantastic, but it's kind of useless if you don't get it out there and the public can't see it and there's no exposure. So you can have your events up on YouTube, then you can also, link them onto Facebook. We don't suggest only having things available on Facebook because it's a little more restrictive. It's only available to people who are signed into Facebook, have an account, and I think that it has the risk of getting buried in Facebook posts. So you can, definitely do it in conjunction with using YouTube or possibly contacting your local TV stations and partnering with them, and then they can, handle tech support. They can help with PR. They can, embed your link. It's a variety of tools available for you here, and you don't have to just pick one and stick with it to the exclusion of all the others. There are definitely ways to use each of these and use them all together. A couple of different options, which I've touched on a little bit, of how you're running this virtual debate. And the virtual room here is it's a little hard to picture if you've not seen any of these debates, which I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, but I definitely do suggest that you go ahead and take a look at, for example, the Morristown area's YouTube channel. They have posted on their past debates, and there are several up there for you. A mayor debate with just the two candidates, or something with several candidates here, if there's a council debate or something. So if you go and start to view the virtual debates that have already happened and been recorded and are out there for you to be able to see, you'll get a feel for how they're run. Starting off with there's a tech person on screen, and then there's a league member who handles the introductions, and then the moderator takes over. All the candidates are there, and the more you see them, the more comfortable you'll be able to envision yourselves running this virtual debate. So one version, as we said before, is you have it run with the candidates there, with your moderator running it, and with your audience viewing it live, but not visible on camera, not in that room, and not able to ask questions on screen. This is where you have your audience register ahead of time, and then you'll send them the link. When you register, the audience member has an opportunity to submit questions right then and there, which is a really handy feature. And even afterwards, they can submit feedback for what the audience thought about your debate, which will help you in preparing your future debates. This is not a one and done, we hope. And it's also helpful if if an audience member thinks of a question after having watched a debate and is, they will get prompted to say, do you have this follow-up question? And then they can submit a follow-up question, and it may be something that's quite critical. You can follow up with your candidates and say, we've had such and such questions come back to us from our audience after your debate performance. So it's a way to keep the communication going between the candidates and your audience, which is so critical, and the audience will definitely be appreciative of, I'm quite sure. That's one of the options. The other one, as I mentioned earlier, you can have all your candidates, moderator, and people who are running the show do the debate, and you have it recorded, but then the audience will watch it later on. You can post it to your YouTube channel, as I said, or Facebook. Definitely go to the state's website, which again has been mentioned before. You have upcoming events, you have things going on with your league. You can now go onto the state's website and post that event yourself. So you can post it as an upcoming event, and then you can go back and post the link to the recorded event after it's happened. They're just various ways of holding these virtual debates. You just want to go through what the requirements are and what the restrictions might be, and decide which one will work best for you. This is definitely the same, along the same lines, the difference between a meeting or a webinar. With Zoom, there are some slight differences. One of the differences is the cost of what it costs to do a meeting versus a webinar, which can depend on the size of your audience or the number of your users. I do understand that the State League is working on a way of either sharing those licenses or covering some of the costs for running the virtual debate. So that's something to reach out to Trenton about before you go ahead and spend your own league's money on either of these two options. There may be options out there for you to cut some costs. You also, in deciding if you're going to do a meeting or a webinar, to determine how do you want to handle live questions, which can be doable in both, but they're slightly different structures. But both of these have Zoom bombing controls set up now, which I can only imagine is a relief to anyone who's been on a Zoom and been bombed by an unwelcome intruder. There, of course, just like with your in-person debates, you've got to figure out what Q&A format you want to use. And again, these are all wonderfully set up in the voter services manual, and will be updated to include the virtual component. So you definitely want to review that ahead of time and see what information you can get from there, and then consider which form you would like to go forward with. You definitely want to have your solicit getting your questions as early in the process as you can from the community, and get those digitally, email, however, snail mail is the least favorite option. You can also solicit questions from the partners or other sponsors that you have, from local media, civic organizations, whomever you think, as long as they're nonpartisan, would have a vested interest in the debate that you are going to hold. And then after you get all those questions, of course, just as in the in-person debate, but you have a little bit more time, you're going to go through the questions, and the league, together with the moderator, together with any partners, if you have them, go through the questions, find them for what's appropriate, cull out whatever is not appropriate, and condense it into the most concise way that you can. Moderator gets the questions, and then she or he decides which order to ask, how to ask the questions, and then handling rebuttal and such going forward. But definitely you want to try and get those questions in your hands as early as possible. Public relations is obviously critical. Again, you can run the best debate that's ever been run, and if you don't get the word out, it's, tree falling in the forest and no one's there to hear it. And all that effort would be for naught. So again, in our document list, we've created a public relations task list that has a whole itemization of different things that you can do to get the word out there for this fantastic debate that you have put together or are putting together. One of the things that we suggest is sending out press releases often, right from the get-go. Here's a press release. We're going to consider having this debate, and then a press release. We've reached out to the candidates in the press release. These candidates have replied, and this one has not. This one has refused to participate. Get the press out there and let people know, let the public know what you're doing, on their behalf to be able to put this debate together. Let them know which candidates are refusing to show. The PR is, I cannot overstate how important it is. I don't know if any of you were watching our centennial celebration last year. I remember hearing former governor saying, oh, when the league used to do debates, that was so important and it was so helpful and so beneficial. And another league member and I were at an event on the Day of Action just recently, and a current mayor of a New Jersey town came by and said, I'm so glad you're here. We were at a public library. I remember when the league used to do debates, and we said, yeah, we still do debates. But apparently, for some reason, the conception out there is that the league doesn't really do debates anymore the way they used to. So we want to change that perception. It's obviously wrong, and changing that perception starts with our PR. It's a wonderful tool, and there are so many ways you can get the word out there. I don't know how many of you know that Tap Into, which is neighborhood news online websites, and they're regional all across New Jersey, and they partner with New Jersey leagues. And I know that when our local league was helping the Morristown area put together some of their debates last year, they had Tap Into partnership with Tap Into Morristown, and just very helpful getting the word out there to let people know that the debate's going on, and it's not something that can be overstated. There's a new Tap Into here in Hackettstown that we would even be reaching out to. You can partner with other local leagues, just as we had done last year. Partner with civic organizations, and just anywhere, TV networks, anyone you can think of to get that word out there. Practice, clearly. Nothing gets rid of performance jitters like practice. And, you know, there are technical things that can go wrong. Some of you may have noticed Debbie and Evelyn and I logged on a few minutes early with Philip to just do a little bit of practice. How do I share a screen? How do I switch sharing a screen? It's just something to give you a comfort level that your ducks are all in a row and you can get things run smoothly. You usually have a call for your candidates to log on 30 minutes before your debate goes live. Just make sure that their name appears on screen as it does on the ballot, that there's no campaign materials in their background, just whatever the list of things are. I believe they're in the candidate's letter, that they're all set up properly before you go live. And, you know, truth be told, it takes about 10 minutes or so. You make sure everyone is logged on correctly. You have a little chat, everyone gets comfortable, and then you can break and log back in just a few minutes before the debate starts. But it's definitely something that you want to just have gone through before you're live. Again, the moderators I'd mentioned before, really important to have them involved. I believe if you're setting up a virtual debate, you reach out to Dawn Clark, let her know what sort of a debate you're putting together, who the candidates are, what your needs are, what you're looking for, and then she will help put you in touch with an appropriate moderator who's got the right experience for the debate that you want to run. Experience running a virtual debate is great, and we're having more and more moderators gain that experience. You want to copy them on everything that goes out. As I said before, your correspondence with candidates, any correspondence with partners or whatever, and just have your moderator be a co-host so that she's got the control to mute or unmute or anything that comes up like that. You don't want her having to ask you in the middle of the debate. As I said in the beginning, we've got lots of lessons learned from several other local leagues who've already run their virtual debates. That master spreadsheet is incredibly helpful. You definitely want to take that and start that from the very beginning. You want to have back channel communications open so that in the middle of the debate, if you notice something going on, you can either text the other league members who are working online, or maybe text somebody who's on screen to fix something. Something falls behind you and you don't know it. It's just have a back channel communication open. Test your streaming before you go live. Make sure that everything is set up correctly. Only candidates on the screen. If you have someone else in the room, that's your business, but they can't be on screen. They should not be heard. And that was an interesting thing that someone had come dangerously close to breaking recently, but it is only the debate of the candidates, so no one else on screen. In my situation, the danger would always be a child or a dog running on camera, but not any campaign managers. And you also want to have somebody monitoring the live stream so that they can reach out to you and tell you, how does a live stream look? Is there an issue going up with how the live stream looks? Again, there are several templates available for you and several experts available to you. There are just so many things out there that will make running your first virtual debate so much easier. And all you need to do is reach out and help yourself to them. All these documents and items will be at that state master database, and all of these experts are around to be able to help answer questions that you can't get answered from the materials that we'll provide. Another thing that I had mentioned before, the state website, you want to list your upcoming events. Any debate that you have coming up, go ahead and put it on the state's website, put it on vote411.org. And after you've had the event, go ahead and put the links back up on those websites, as well as on your YouTube channel, your Facebook page, and whatever other social media you have. It's just another way to increase your visibility of that debate. I know I'm going a little quickly, I'm sorry, but I've been droning on for too long. every use of your recording, you've got to have the use and copyright notice. You put it at an end card at the end of your debate. You also put it in the description of the virtual event when you list it on YouTube. Candidates are not supposed to use this in their campaign materials, the debates, and if they're ever replaying the debate, they've got to use the entire broadcast. So you're not supposed to cut it into pieces. So that's largely it. As I mentioned, there's that centralized database that's got all the unbelievably helpful information there for you. The updated voter services manual, which is going to be your best friend in running a debate, will be available in August. You can join. I know I've heard this in several of the other seminars that we've had this week. You can join the Voter Service Coalition. You can join our subgroup and just keep up to date with what's going on in this context, and have access to our wonderful database before it even gets down to the state. And again, update your upcoming events page with anything that your league is doing, anything you have going on. Just keep that visibility out there for all the great work that you're doing. These are our email addresses. As I said, Debbie McCumber is the head of our forum group and has an incredible amount of experience with running virtual debates. Evelyn Murphy as well, having run these debates, and will be happy and available to answer your questions. And if in some unimaginable universe they cannot answer your question, I'm sure that we'll be able to point you in the right direction of where to find those answers. And that is largely it. Debbie, I'm not sure if you had gotten any questions in the chat while I was
yeah, and I just want to point out, we are a little over already, but there is not another event coming up. So I will quickly answer questions and address a couple other things. And just know that please email any of the three of us with further questions. And if we don't answer, if we need to send a document or an email response, we will just go ahead and send it to whoever asked the question, or maybe just everybody if we're not sure who the name is. But I will say I'm going at the top. Tap Into is a group that did set up a partnership with the league. And no, you do not have to pay to post anymore, but really because of these partnerships, there is a spreadsheet with a list of the names of the contacts for each region. And that's what you should do, is call them up and talk to them. They may not even know there's a partnership, but there is. And there's the owner of like all of the Tap Intos in New Jersey, or the manager of them, is someone they can check with. So basically, I advise, yes, post, but reach out to your regional Tap Into, and there is a spreadsheet with the list of all the names, and a flyer that explains how that partnership works. And I can send that out to people. It has been distributed through various things like the President's Calls and other things in the past. So shouldn't the timekeeper is on screen. Until risk with live streaming, you can cancel the chat on YouTube. You don't have to have the chat. Facebook, you do have a chat that you can't get rid of. Some leagues really feel that that's an important piece of the process, that you get good comments and positive feedback, so they don't have to be nasty, but they can be. So it's up to you, but you can cancel the chat when you're streaming on YouTube. Attendance improved with forums in spite of a few blips. Yes, all the forums were successful. And you do just, some of the forums that we would have would be, we're lucky to have 20 people in the room. And there's a lot of reasons for that kind of thing. But with the virtual forums, you can get hundreds to thousands of viewers, depending on the event, because you've made it available, not just live, but afterwards, all the way up and down, well, forever, but on the YouTube channel or what other channel you use, Vimeo. Facebook is there. You just have to look for it harder. I strongly advise every league getting a YouTube channel. All they have to do is get it, sign up for Google and set up a channel, and that's where they can put all the videos, and you can embed and share and set up sections where you can go to different kinds. If you do webinars, those can be listed separately. You can set up events in advance that you can go to, or you can just send people to the channel.
Deborah, Mary Joelson has her hand raised.
Yeah, I'm still running through the questions.
Yeah, I have a question, Debbie.
Yes.
I want to know if other leagues have had an issue with the moderator, with the public being concerned about the moderator being swayed by the league. And I guess, you know, I'm giving something away about my town and the view they have, some people have of the league, that they think that we're loading the questions one way or another, or there's some skepticism about that. So when you say keep the moderator involved, I'm wondering if there's a way of doing that that doesn't concern the people who are concerned. You know what I mean?
Evelyn, why don't you take this?
Thanks, I will. As a trained moderator and also the person who has been the organizer of most of our forums in Monmouth County, one of the things that we do is we do not give, in our league, we have not been giving the name of the moderator to the candidates in advance, and we blind copy the moderator on all of our communications. So because we don't want candidates to think that they might be able to reach out to the moderator. And we in our letters to the candidates, we are explaining to them that the moderator will be a league trained person who is from outside of the voting area.
Right.
And we have not run into that problem, but interestingly, you know, sometimes people feel the league might be one way or another. 2 years ago, when we were doing in-person forums, we had one local group who felt, well, it was the Republican candidates felt they really didn't think the league would do a fair job. And right next door was a different municipality where the Democratic candidates felt the league wouldn't do a good job. So we sort of try to just rise above that.
Right. Yes. Okay. I'm just wondering whether we're the only league that's had that issue and how to deal with it. But that's what we did too. So thank you.
Okay, I could share a few things, like an example of the task list, but it also could be something we just go ahead and send forward, because we are now over 10 minutes past. I think that's the end of the questions, and I don't see, do I see a hand? Susan?
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to come late. I had all kinds of things going on today, as you well know, Debbie. Will this presentation be sent to us if we're here? Is that how that's going to work?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everything's being recorded, all the workshops.
Yeah, I know.
We're happy to send it, yeah, to everybody. And we'll send things like links to some of, some of the channels, or I can send a copy of the big task sheet that we highly recommend. And then, when the voter services manual is out, we can forward that to people. But I will say it's really important, we've got all these great people representing, I don't know how many leagues, and to carry this, to keep in this group and to carry it back to your leagues so that things like as simple as Tap Into, which has been sent and forwarded and communicated, but it doesn't always get to the right people. And it doesn't hurt to just keep re-emphasizing within your local league what's going on. So, please join our groups. Right now, we don't meet that often anymore because we've all broken into little subgroups that are kind of finalizing the pieces. But if you join the groups, then you're on the email list, and you have, as we said, you get the links to the Google Docs, the Google folders that we've set up.
I
And
just wanted to thank all of you for doing all this wonderful work.
sure, yeah, it's worth it. Definitely worth it. So I guess that's it. And thank you all for attending. And like I said, we'll reach out to you. And if you don't want the stuff, just send back and say, don't send any more. But that's why you're here. So, oh wait, we have 8 new messages. Hold on, wait a minute. Timothy, let's see. Well, you all can read the chats, I think. Jeanette wants, thank you. My understanding is the same. Okay, lots of thank yous. Thank you. And I guess, Philip, we can end the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.